LSU Odyssey in the house. How's it going, everybody? LSUODYSSEY.COM here because we are previewing Kelly versus Kiffin, Volume 3. Kelly versus Kiffin, Volume 3. Here, the times now. Kelly beat him once. Came back round 17, almost made another comeback in a shootout last year, but Kiffin got him another time. So it's 1-1. Who's going to win this third one? We found that out with Saban 1-1, Kelly 1-1. That was 1-1 between those two. It's very interesting to see Brian Kelly, settle into being an SEC coach and have these records with opposing coaches. And now here's round 3. Volume 3 against Lane Kiffin. It's going to be very, very entertaining, I believe. I don't think it's going to be a shootout. Our prediction, I'm just going to tell you this right now. If anyone remembers our prediction before the season, probably you don't. This was back in August. A lot of things have happened since then, injuries especially, big things like that, maybe you were a little disappointed in the team, things like that have probably erased any of our content like that from your memory. But to refresh your memory, we had LSU losing 2 games. And one of those games was LSU versus Ole Miss, losing 41-38. That was our preseason pick, and it wasn't because we felt Ole Miss were so good. We actually think Ole Miss is an overrated team. I'm actually going to get into how I think Ole Miss is actually overrated, how I think they don't deserve to be where they are, like in the rankings, how I feel that it's basically an offense as Trey Harris and really nothing else. Very disjointed offense. They've got weapons. They've got some guys on that team, but they don't really know how to use them just yet. Against Furman, maybe. But you've seen them against 2 SEC teams. Yes, it was thorough. It was dominant against South Carolina. South Carolina didn't really – they don't have an offense. But that's the thing. Against our defense, Lenore Sellers looked like he was pulling off another kind of a Diego Pavia moment where it's just going to be one of those quarterbacks that plays for maybe a smaller program in the SEC and is going to go take down one of the big boys. Unless LSU took out Lenore Sellers, he may have taken us out. And so it was a big, big, big deal when we were able to take down Lenore Sellers, Braden Swinson, knock him out of the game. And so you go into this game, LSU Ole Miss, 4-1, 4 straight wins. You lost to USC in the opener, 27-20, lost in the final seconds. Nuss had a clean game. He threw an interception on the last play, desperate play. Doesn't really count to my mind. This is a chance for LSU to really finally get back in the good graces of the national attention sphere, the national dialogue. And I don't really care about that. I don't really care if they're involved in the favoritism. I don't really care if people are like dialed in and LSU's the favorite. Oh my God, yeah, I'm rooting for LSU. They're a favorite. I don't really want that, to be honest. I kind of like when we're the underdog and we're kind of underappreciated. I feel like LSU as a program plays better in those type of vibes, in those type of moments, in those type of games. And that, my friends, is going to be one of those moments, one of those games, one of those settings this Saturday against Ole Miss. Celebrating 100th anniversary of Tiger Stadium. And Ole Miss are going to have to come to Tiger Stadium and do what they did to us last year in Tiger Stadium. I don't see it happening. Do I? That's the thing. In the preseason, we predicted, they're gonna pull off a shocker here. LSU has all the festivities on our side. We've got the home crowd on our side. Everything's going our way. We're actually performing well on offense, but then the defense, as much as they're gonna come together over the last few games and kind of figure some things out, they're gonna get exposed by Lane Kiffin's offense, and they're gonna thrash them this way and that way. And if you were to tell me, they're also going to be playing that game without Jacobian Guillory or Harold Perkins, I probably would have said, oh yeah, I'm definitely secure in that pick, because I knew Trey Harris was going to be good. I didn't think he'd be leading the country in receiving yards. But here's the thing. Trey Harris is going to be probably at like 25% health for that game. Lane Kiffin even admitted he wouldn't be playing against LSU if that game was today. Yesterday. So, Trey Harris, Louisiana native receiver, unbelievable talent. And I don't know how he snuck under LSU's radar, but this kid has already been putting up 200-yard games this year, has like multiple games with 10 catches. This kid is a freak this season, and he's been Ole Miss's best, most explosive weapon. Yes, Jackson Dart. He's got those moments as well where Jackson Dart can kill you with his legs, but he's also leading the nation, I believe, in passing yards, leading the SEC in passing yards, just edging our guy Garrett Nussmeier in a lot of those numbers. So, this is going to be a quarterback duel between Garrett Nussmeier and Jackson Dart. You could also, I think it's going to be more of a quarterback duel of long orchestrated drives more than a straight up shootout. That's kind of what my vibe today is telling me. Is like everything we've watched, everything we've studied over the weekend, kind of going into this game. How do we feel about this game? Where's this thing going? This is the put up or shut up moment of the season for LSU. You had one of those in week 1 against USC. You didn't pass that test. And it was narrow, it was close, but you didn't play well enough really to win that game. If LSU had won that game somehow, like say 23-20, like we get the ball back on that USC drive, we force, and then get another field goal or whatever. Like I would have felt like that was a straight up lucky win, in my opinion. If that's how it would have gone, it would have been just a pure luck situation. I feel like we were outplayed by USC on the day. This is going to be a game where I don't think LSU can get outplayed and win. And who's to say Ole Miss can actually make it into a shootout in this game without Trey Harris? Who's to assume that they can put up that much points? That many points. Sorry, I'm having a brain fuck. But yeah, how's everybody doing? It's kind of a small audience right now. See that Hurricane Milton is brewing. Busy Tuesday. People probably working. Hopefully some people will rewatch this. So there's kind of like no point in me doing these. I'd rather just write an article if it's something that will actually have staying power. Like if you guys tell me in the comments, do you guys watch us live? Like the live shows later? Like if you miss it live, like there's tons of live shows I miss that people do live because I'm busy doing our own stuff, But I usually, if I like this stuff enough, I'm gonna rewatch it later after the fact because I'm just like that. I'm a completist. I gotta like kind of wrap everything up and kind of get to know all sides of it, you know. So if we actually are content that you guys rewatch after the live show, like you didn't watch it, you didn't catch it, you missed it when we went live. If we're a show that you guys actually rewatch after the fact, even though we're not currently live, like if you guys watch it after the fact when it's already done, we'll do a live show every day. I mean, if you guys support the content, there's no limits to how much we can bust out. So yeah, tell me in the comments where you stand on that. If your viewership is strictly to when we're live right then, you want to comment, you want to interact, or it doesn't, that part of it doesn't matter that much to you, and it's more about just watching our stuff like later after the fact. I just want to know your opinion on it, because I want to know the honest truth of where you guys stand with that, because sometimes I wonder if the writing that I do gets across what I'm trying to say better than what I do on the podcasts. And so what I'm trying to do is meld the two worlds, where the podcasts aren't so casual and they got a little bit more of a linear thread to them and some cohesion to them, because sometimes they're a little all over the place. I tend to rant and rave and kind of go off, tangents sometimes, and I mean, anybody can do that, but that's why you kind of have a skeletal kind of guide to go through of like, we want to hit this and we want to hit that. And I used to hate the idea of that type of stuff, and I wanted it to be all organic, and but that's kind of selfish, and I want to look out for the actual audience, the actual customer, the actual people who support us, and I want to make it the best possible experience for you guys, where you click on this stuff and you're going to be getting something worthwhile. And so tell us in the comments how we can do that better. Tell us in the comments what you prefer and where you watch us, how you watch us. If you read the articles more than watch, if you watch more than read, I want to know all that. We want all that feedback from you guys. If you guys can help us out with that and send us a few comments and let us know. But back to the game. A lot of pressure is on LSU in this game, but there's more pressure on Ole Miss here. Ole Miss already have a loss. They weren't expected to lose a game. They're not even expected to lose this LSU game even after the loss. This was an Ole Miss team that was expected to be a top 10 team from wire to wire. This is an Ole Miss team that the consensus seemed to put in their top 12, their final 12, right? Usually a higher seed, or a lot of times as the loser of the SEC championship game, which let's remind every Ole Miss fan in the world right now, would be their first ever SEC championship game appearance. Not just first ever SEC championship, but first ever SEC championship appearance. And what? The SEC's been around since 91, 92. It's embarrassing for Ole Miss to even talk shit before these types of games. But here we are. It's going to be interesting. I think, there's some banged up superstars. You've got Caden Durham with his dislocated toes. You got Trey Harris. But LSU's injuries are not as serious as it seems. There is one that we haven't really gotten into. Coaches haven't gotten into. The injury report doesn't have to be out until Saturday. And so this game being as big as it is, they're not going to let that name out. We reported something with that name a few days ago. Potential season-ending injury, not completely confirmed that it is that serious, but it's serious enough to keep him out of this game. LSU has another weapon, C.J. Daniels, who I was told had some type of knee injury where it wasn't just it was basically akin to a torn meniscus. And I was told he went under a quick operation, quick surgery to repair it and get him back on the field type of surgery. Now, this is a big risk. This is a young man who's already had an ACL tear. He had over 1,000 yards, double-digit touchdowns last year, one of only a handful of receivers in the country to do that last year. The other three were all first-round picks. Marvin Harrison Jr., of course, the bullet and the fraud. Malik Neighbors, of course, and Brian Thomas Jr., of course. All three of those guys. And then C.J. Daniels. So, three of those guys now going to LSU. I wonder who the real wide receiver U is. Regardless, C.J. Daniels has not hit his optimum with LSU. He hasn't hit those big plays yet. And now you've got him practicing on this knee injury. Yes, I'm talking about practice. And this is not good, I think. I think this is a little bit of a risk from Brian Kelly to be rushing him back this soon. I understand this game the season's on the line for LSU. This is a playoff game against Ole Miss. Because we know that the committee are not going to pick LSU over other teams. If we're that 13th team right in that area, and it's kind of a coin flip, we're screwed. We're screwed. I just don't want us to roll the dice so badly with CJ Daniels that we injure him for the rest of the season, especially when, there's a guy, Chris Hilton Jr., who hasn't played a single snap yet, only has a bone bruise, doesn't have like an injury where if he continues playing, he might risk having like a season-ending knee injury or something. At most, it would, crack one of the bones on that foot, which is something he could still play through. I understand that's extremely painful, and I'm not going to say that I would have the nuts and the durability and the stamina to play through, or even the pain tolerance to play through an injury like that. But you're on that field, you're wearing those jerseys, you want to play for LSU, you want to play in the SEC, you want to be a starting receiver for LSU. You've got to take some pain. C.J. Daniels, it seems, is going to be willing to play through that pain tolerance, that pain threshold. But let's make no mistake here. The dude has a messed up knee, and it's really close to that edge where I'm kind of like, is this the right move here? We've got other weapons. We got Chris Hilton Jr. coming back. Maybe just imagine if we sit C.J. Daniels this game, we get the win, and then we got C.J. Daniels coming back, potentially not 100% healthy, but at least 85, something like that. In this game, he's going to be about 70% healthy, 60% healthy, right in that territory where he's going to be effective. He's going to get the ball, but you're putting that knee at risk, and I'm just a little worried. Good to know. Mike Prima says, I enjoy watching live, but if I miss watching live, I'll watch later. Mike, you're an absolute badass, dude. I appreciate you. I thank you. You always check our stuff. And I'm not sure if you read the articles, but I hope you do, because we usually fill the articles with even more info, even more information. And we try and make them as concise and as readable as possible, where we're not going to waste your time on an article. We're going to make it all killer, no filler. And we're going to try and make it, those old 70s albums where every song kicked ass. That's what we're trying to bring back, but do it with writing. And we don't need AI to do it. We're going to do this, for real. And I'm just so sick of the fake cookie cutter sports content. We're going to bring you something that's entertaining and wild, but driven by facts, driven by sources, driven by, the love for the game. Really, that's what it's about. And Mike, I can tell you have a love for the game, a love for your Tigers, and man, just kindred spirits here, brother. And we're absolutely delighted and honored that you even check us out, watch it, have anything to do with it. You're really making me feel like just kind of humbled right now. There's people out there who, I have 2 million followers. I need 5 million. It's like nowadays with the way the economy is, the way that there's war. World War III is on the brink with all these countries at war with each other and trying to drag America into all these wars. The craziest election of all time, just one election after another. There's a lot of serious craziness going on, not to mention Hurricane Milton coming straight for the South right after Hurricane Helene's devastation put up Hurricane Katrina level death numbers. Just horrifying, sad, evil stuff that's going on out there. Child trafficking, it's endless. The list of fentanyl overdoses. There's just so many terrible things going on out there. So when you can find great things, great people, positive environments, whether that's a podcast, whether that's a band that you love, whether that's an instrument you love to play, with a group of people, whether you like to write to your, in a journal, no one's ever going to see it, or you publicly blog and everyone's going to read your deepest thoughts and it's kind of out there and vulnerable. Whatever you're doing that makes you feel good inside about life and makes it worth living, those are the things, man. Those are the things, those are the people, those are the places that you've got to hold dear. And whether that's a podcast, whether that's LSU every week, whether that's, on the couch with your family, whether that's LSU in Tiger Stadium, sports is so big for us right now. Sports is a refuge. And I refuse to bring those other things in here unless it's a hurricane fundraiser or something like that to do some good. It's not coming in to try and, influence or screw up the positive vibes and energy we're trying to get going here, because that's what we need to do more of. There's not enough people with platforms using their platform for positive energy vibes. That's what we're going to be doing. I've been really getting into it lately. Let me be honest with you. Let me be very deeply frank with you. Okay. Things haven't been the best. Like a lot of you guys, for me personally, for our family, the last few months, a little bit here, but really just for me. And of course, we've had a lot of success with LSU Odyssey still, but there's some just uncertainty about things that have made me second guess myself, be overly stressed. Just there's just been some family drama, not with like my my family, but with my extended family, and we're really close with them. So it's just kind of crazy and a kind of a new change, and so that stuff I've been trying to kind of distance it, block it out in a way, get some distance from it. And so sports is a refuge. Doing this is a refuge. So thank you guys for checking it out and allowing me to do it, being an audience. I want your early LSU Ole Miss score predictions posted right now in the comments section. Your early LSU Ole Miss Kiffin versus Kelly, Kelly versus Kiffin, Volume 3 score predictions in the comments. And also tell us whether you watched the show live, and if you missed the show live, do you watch the show after? Like, just be dead honest with us. It's okay. I just want to know. We just want to know what's working, what isn't, and how best that we can serve you guys. And if you read the articles as well, let us know that as well. LSU versus Ole Miss coming up this Saturday night. What a game, what a game, what a game that's going to be. I fluctuate. My mind is fluctuating whether it's going to be a shootout to it's going to be like a 31-27 kind of game. Like here's the thing though. When you look at LSU Ole Miss games, like even like back like before Kiffin even arrived, you know, it's been some shootouts. There's been some shootouts. it seems almost like nonstop in this series. Someone scores 40 plus points at least in almost every one of these games. Like what, the last like 7 years? I'll look that up. And that's also why you got to follow us on Twitter at Lon Phillips, is because we always post these like little stats and nuggets there. And we've been trying to, what's the best way to put this? We've been trying to like streamline all of our stuff into one spot, and that is at LSUODYSSEY.com. We are trying to get all of that social media content that we post on Twitter and try and represent it the best ways that we can in the articles, through the podcast that we do anyway. We've always done that, but like, trying, if we haven't, we try and like for instance, we did a, LSU versus South Alabama social media wrap up or something like that. And it was a post. It was just like literally screenshots of our posts, our Twitter posts, because it had all these stats and deep line stats and things like that I thought you guys would all find interesting to look at. But yes, this shit's starting for real. LSU are going to go right through the teeth, the gauntlet of this schedule. It's going to be, crazy games from here on out. One big game after another. And you don't want LSU to be, already at 2 losses just 6 games into the season, after this loss, to Ole Miss or something like that. That would be terrible. LSU lose to USC and then beat some kind of like nothing burger teams, some kind of like flat performances. And then this team loses to Ole Miss and just never gets off the tarmac. Kind of like Kiffin and USC. Never gets fired on the tarmac. You want to see LSU ascend in their performances, not just in their attack, but in their performances. Mike Primus says LSU 33, Ole Miss 26. So you've got it in that kind of in-between area where it's not quite a shootout, but it's not some low-scoring game whatsoever. My brain's starting to float towards that type of stuff, man. Mike, I'm really feeling like this game, I think it's going to be kind of a bloodbath in a way, like hard-hitting. I don't know why I sense that from Ole Miss's defense, because they're not really a hard-hitting defense that I can see. But you do have pieces on that defense that are. Trey Amos, Walter Nolan. You've got some defensive guys on Ole Miss, whereas usually there was nothing on Ole Miss's defense. You had no one. And Randall Joyner, their D-line coach, I love that dude. And I think he's going to get something good out of that D-line in this game. Walter Nolan had, 2.5 sacks this last week. He only had a half sack before that. He's getting going. The SEC schedule hasn't made him play bad like it has with Jackson Dart and their Ole Miss offense. And so LSU could be in a game where you see kind of some chess match here, where maybe there is a lot of 3-and-outs. Maybe these defenses have more steel, more meat on the bone than we anticipated, and they're keeping LSU off the field. We're keeping Ole Miss off the field, and you don't see quite that quarterback duel that, Nuss versus Dart, that we're expecting. And both those quarterbacks are kind of more frustrated, kind of sloppy performances because they've been on the sideline most of the game and don't really have that kind of consistent flow in the game. That's something that I really want to keep an eye on. Is we posted something today, just barely on our Twitter, that Garrett Nussmeier has had 13 scoring touchdown drives over 70 yards. Okay. And he has 6 scoring touchdown drives over 80 yards, 3 over 90 yards. 2 in one game. 2 in one game. 2 scoring touchdown scoring drives over 90 yards. He has a scoring drive of 99 yards this season, 96 and 92 yards, another of 87, another of 80. And then, of course, like I said, the other 13 touchdowns scored on drives over 70 plus yards. That's incredible. 90 plus yard drives. It's exactly the recipe to beat this Ole Miss team. And I don't want LSU to be doing that in the third and fourth quarter. I want LSU to start fast in the first quarter, get some passing touchdowns on the board, start passing the ball early in this game. But then I want you to grind and just pork rind. I was trying to make that rhyme. I should have said ground and pound, but grind was the word that came out. And then I was like, and pork rind. Just, you want us to be there to savagely batter Ole Miss and wear them down from the second quarter to clear to the fourth. You don't want it just to be a second half thing where you're keeping possession. You've got like a maybe 7-point, 9-point lead. You're playing a little cat and mouse game here. No. We need to see an LSU offense that is aggressive, that is attack-minded, that is showing that diversity of play calling we've seen from Joe Sloan on those amazing drives, those brilliant orchestrated drives by Garrett Nussmeier, where Garrett's the master of puppets, just pulling the strings, and Joe Sloan's dialing it in, the brain trust from the booth, and you're seeing that these guys are on the same wavelength. These guys can make anything happen right now. And then you've seen other drives where things are really disjointed and things just really didn't work out. The execution was off. The play call was wrong. You know, it's not always just the play call was wrong. There's a lot that goes into the execution, of course. The assignments get crossed, get screwed up, whatever. For Ole Miss, LSU, this game, LSU's offense has to stay dialed in, pedal to the metal from first quarter to last, and you're going to need a 100-yard receiver. You're going to need to feed Mason Taylor. That's going to be your guy. You're going to need to feed Aaron Anderson, but really, you also need a deep threat. You need Chris Hilton Jr. in this game to rip the top off the lid of this can, just rip it open. Unleash the jar of worms, just crank that lid open. Smash that jar open with a hammer. Like, you break that ceiling, break the glass, throw the rock through the house, like, kick the door down. I can keep going on and on with these ridiculous metaphors, but we really need to see not just a patient LSU offense. We need to see an LSU offense that attacks from the first and gets an early lead. Because I swear to God, when Brian Kelly teams have an early lead, I swear to God, we're undefeated. I can't think of one game. I'm trying to think of one game where, like, Brian Kelly let a team, like, come back on us. Can you think of one? Am I missing one? Where Kelly and LSU had a 10-point lead and someone came back to beat us. I can't think of that game. What I can think of is a ton of games where we're down by double digits and having to come back. And, Kelly's actually got a pretty good record in that circumstance, but there's been some losses too. I can't remember exactly what that record was. We did the stats on that and posted that on Twitter just a bit ago. If we were on the laptop, we would be able to pull that up for you, but sadly we're on the phone. If you look that up on our Twitter at Lon Phillips and you search for that, you'll definitely find the answer for that. Down double digits, it's usually we're just getting blown out of the stadium, and then either we come back or we don't. And there's been games where we have, there's been games where we haven't. So you never know. You never know what you're gonna get with these type of games, with these type of scenarios, especially with how crazy college football is, how unpredictable and just wild. I mean, this last weekend in college football was insane. It reminded me of 2007. I'm literally sitting there. It's like 8:30, 9 at night. We're watching the end of the Vanderbilt Alabama game. I'm with my son. I'm with Chelsea. I'm with a few other people, and we're watching the game. And I'm just like, guys, we're watching history right now tonight. We've literally watched history going down. Like, this is the best bye week ever. LSU, the history's going down. LSU aren't getting affected by any of it except moving up. But as you know, of course, LSU didn't move into the top 10 except for in the coaches poll. We didn't even move up a single spot, even though all those teams lost. Literally five top 12 teams, 6 top 12 teams, ridiculous. And Miami had to barely come back to avoid being number 8 in the country, losing as well. So it's something that I hope we see again this year. I'm serious. I hope we see this every week because it's addicting. I love this type of storytelling, Shakespearean madness. Kids who are counted out, like a Diego Pavia, coming out of nowhere and beating the number 1 team in the country. And not only that, Kalen DeBoer could not lose that game. Kalen DeBoer couldn't lose any game this year. That guy he's going to be facing a lot of shit this season. I can just tell him that he's going to be like, what is going on? These people are so spoiled. He's going to win 11 games, and they're still going to fire him. Like, Alabama are ridiculous. They're probably not going to win 11 games this year, though. They're not that good. In this wild college football landscape, though, one thing I do know is that LSU thrives in these wild football college landscapes every time. Look at what happened in 2007. Yes, we paid the Pied Piper price with a triple overtime loss to Arkansas with that same wild, crazy, unhinged 2007. And then trying to think the other game that LSU lost that season. Who did we lose to that season? Did we lose to Ole Miss that year? Who was the first loss? I swear to God, it was like another triple overtime game. Or just like first or second overtime. But I swear to God, it was another overtime game, shootout type style. Weird that 2007 defense allowed us to be in I think 4 or 5 different shootouts. It's crazy. There's patchwork. I don't know. I'm really excited for this game, though. I'm excited for this game because I think you're going to see the best of LSU, what LSU's got. And I think if you don't, I think if LSU aren't up for this game, if we get blown off the field somehow, some way, LSU really screw the pooch here, even with a Trey Harris that's just ineffective, injured. No Quinshot and Judkins anymore at running back. There's no balls or girth within that interior offensive line or interior defensive line. Like Walter Nolan is the only guy on either line that I could really put my hat on. and support as someone like, yeah, I'm going to draft that guy type of thing. I'm going to go get that guy out of the portal. The rest I could hit or miss. And Trey Amos was kind of like LSU were just desperate to get a body. That's why we're going for him. So I'm saying, yes, while things can be crazy, while things can be wild, while things can be very unpredictable in college football, especially nowadays, especially in the era of the 12-team playoff, which we're here. I think it's going to be like a 2007-esque season more and more. You've got to be prepared. You've got to be careful. You cannot take any of these moments for granted where like, oh, well, we'll just kick a field goal. We'll score a touchdown later on. Like, you've got to kill teams off when you can. You've got to have that killer instinct. You've got to start strong. You've got to maintain the momentum. You've got to stay focused. You've got to keep it going for 4+ quarters, and it is going to be an exhausting ride. And that is the one thing that worries me more than anything about this team, guys. LSU's lack of depth. People are like, oh, well, we'll be fine without Harold Perkins. We'll be fine without Jacoby Guillory. We'll be fine without, Chris Hilton Jr. or this guy or John Emery Jr. Be careful what you wish for. Because it's not just about like, oh, I want Caden Durham to be the running back. I don't want John Emery Jr., so it's okay that he's hurt. Or I want, West Weeks and Greg Penn III as our linebackers. I don't want Harold Perkins, so I'm okay that he's hurt. I want Ahmad Bro, so I don't want Jacoby Guillory, so it's okay that he's hurt. Even if you're like an insane fan that's that like nuts saying stuff like that, but even if you believe that, you're wrong simply just because of the math. LSU needs the bodies. LSU doesn't have the bodies to survive many more injuries here. And we know of at least 3, maybe 4, 5 that are significant or serious on the board already. And guys are just playing through the pain, but to varying degrees. But it's definitely a storyline part of this game. It's definitely a worrying part of this game where depth, health, as unpredictable as things are, as crazy as this season, and it's going to be maybe 16, 17 games for LSU if we get through everything, get to the CFP. I don't know how we could make it through 17 games with this team, with this squad. And that was before Jacoby Guillory, John Emery Jr., Harold Perkins all go down with season-ending injuries. Prince Malbrough as well. Prince Malbrough also had a season-ending injury with a torn ACL. So that's 4 different guys in just a month of football. And you would have predicted these injuries to happen in October, November, not when we're playing Nichols, not when we're playing UCLA. South Alabama. That's the stuff that was the most infuriating about these injuries. What's most infuriating about these injuries is just these are damn good kids that you just wish you'd seen on the field this season kick ass and do what they can for their careers, because that's where they belong and that's what they love to do. And we've been watching some of these kids for so long that it's like, it's personal when you see these guys go down hurt. And so LSU, how can they maintain their health going into this game? How can they make sure they're going to be fine, fit, and firing on all cylinders? I think LSU are going to be a lot better shape than many would think. I know Kelly's kind of hyping that up a bit. I know there are some bang-ups, some injuries here and there. I think it's going to be about the mentality. Can you get over that pain? Can your mind rise over the pain and the adversity? And if it can't, if you're going to be soft on that night, you're going to lose that game. It is going to be a nasty, hard-hitting game. I really do believe that. I've said it a few times. I think it's going to be a nasty, hard-hitting game. Whatever the scoreline, I think both defenses are going to come out flying to hit people, to take people the fuck out. I think you're going to see the best game Whit Weeks has had. But also, Greg Penn III has almost transformed into a different player. I've said that a few times. We said that live with Mario Yerez and Taylor. I can't remember his last name, but on ESPN 100.3 out of New Orleans. We were on the radio this last week. We've been trying to get a clip for you guys to listen to and post on the site, but it was us previewing Ole Miss, and I was cautiously optimistic about the team and kind of gave my thoughts on where the team is at, and I really had to settle on the fact that I think LSU has a big chance here, but I don't think Ole Miss is that good. I think they have been overhyped. I think if LSU control the football and play the 55th ranked defense that they are, they could win this game. Like, if we can run the football, control the clock, even just a little bit, just say 4 minutes of time of possession, give me 350 time of possession more than Ole Miss, and play the 55th ranked defense, and I think we beat Ole Miss. One problem is, how can we have the 55th ranked defense when we don't have Harold Perkins out there against the Ole Miss offense? This is always the best game where we need Harold Perkins in this type of a game against that type of an offense, against that type of a play caller. And he's the guy who kills that play caller, a guy that is that play caller's worst nightmare. And we don't have him. We don't have him to call upon. I know. We can't focus on these injuries, as enraging as it is, but we've got to remember, if there are times LSU just simply doesn't have the speed, if one of these linebackers goes down, if one of our key defenders goes down, it's, my God, I wish we had Harold Perkins. If we can't get a pass rush against Jackson Dart, which I'm going to tell you right now, that would stun me, because I've been saving this point for a bit until we got almost to the end of this show. We're gonna go for about 7 more minutes here. LSU's best path to victory here is not only controlling the clock, like I said, running the football, really keeping Jackson Dart and that offense off the field, out of rhythm. Lane Kiffin frustrated and angry and antsy and anxiety-ridden, pacing on those sidelines. That's what we want out of Lane Kiffin, and you do that by running the football and controlling the clock. We showed you the information about the drives, the 99-yard drive, 96, 92-yard drive, 2 in one game, 90-plus yard drives in one game. That's insane from Garrett Nussmeier. 13 drives of over 70-plus yards, and I'm talking 13 touchdown scoring drives. There is 3 turnover on downs drives that went for 70-plus as well, but Garrett Nussmeier and this offense, orchestrate it, start fast, get your receivers the football, get the tight end involved, show the weapons you can have. If Chris Hilton Jr. is in there, throw a deep shot early, not only just one, a couple. Get CJ Daniels the football if you're going to play him. Get him involved. Get him some big plays. But it's about starting fast, getting a lead, and then controlling the clock. But then that 55th ranked defense has to show up, of course. But the way it's going to show up, it's all predicated on this pass rush. This is really the key to the game, in my opinion. And we've been saying this and kind of thinking this from before. If Swinson, if Savion, if all these guys can create havoc, pressure, TFLs, sacks, force fumbles, create complete chaos, nonstop pressures, all that stuff in the backfield against Ole Miss, rattling Jackson Dart nonstop, LSU has a 90% chance to win this game, 99% chance to win this game, because you've seen it like I've seen it. If you give Garrett Nussmeier the football, you create a few turnovers, you sack the other quarterback, you rattle the other quarterback, you knock the other quarterback out, you're going to win games at LSU with this offense.